We already know where to download the software from. Now let's learn how to install this software on your system. We'll start with a slightly less user-friendly form of software installation, that is, binary packages. This will be presented on the example of a system application called VirtualBox Guest Additions. These applications are recommended to everyone who will explore Linux using VirtualBox. Guest additions allow you to simplify a number of operations you can perform on the virtual machine, thanks to additional functionalities. The package contains, for example, additional audio and video drivers and mouse drivers. It also provides a functionality that allows you to move the contents of the clipboard between the host, in our case, this is Windows, and the guest, virtual machine with Linux. Using Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V shortcut keys, you can copy something from Windows, for example, a website address, and paste it to the virtual machine. Another functionality automatically adjusts display resolution, depending on the screen mode. If your virtual machine is running Windows, such additional functionalities will be installed automatically. The system will only ask you a few times whether you'd like to install unsigned drivers. With Linux running in the virtual machine, this is more complicated, only because of the fact that you can install any Linux distribution on the virtual machine. Therefore, the additions come in a form that allow them to be installed on as many distributions as possible. To install the additions, select the menu VirtualBox Devices, Install Guest Additions. This will mount the Guest Additions CD image file inside your virtual machine. The CD contains drivers for Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and OS/2 Warp. We're concerned only with the drivers for Linux. Because, as we said, these additions come in a raw form to be used in as many distributions as possible, they require compilation. Fortunately, it's carried out automatically by the installer included on the CD. Compilation, however, means that some other packages must be installed in the system beforehand. First, you need a compiler, for example, GCC. Next, you need the system kernel source code. The additions include certain modules or drivers, for example, for video and audio cards that are supposed to be emulated in the VirtualBox. These can only be compiled as kernel modules. And in order to do that, you need to access some kernel files. In order to adjust the drivers to a particular version of the system kernel, during compilation, you need to provide certain constants and variables defined in the kernel source code. In the case of a 32-bit system, it's probably the kernel pay devel package. It's available in our version of the system, that is Fedora 17. If you're using a 64-bit system, look for the kernel devel package. Some distributions place the kernel source code in atypical locations. In such a situation, it's recommended to define the kern dir manually. The rest of the installation process is easy. Switch to the administrator account and open the file vboxlinuxadditions.sh from the virtual CD. The system will compile, install, and activate all the drivers automatically. The user doesn't have to give names and locations of needed directories. The system should find them automatically. If it doesn't, it will inform the user about it and request the user to install a needed package manually, or give the name and location of the directory containing the kernel files. Once the additions are installed, you don't need to restart the virtual machine. In reality, you need to restart just a couple of services. However, this is a substantial change in the system, and therefore, Especially novice users should simply restart the virtual machine. This will activate all the drivers, and the system will be much more convenient to use. Because all of this may look complicated at first glance, let's go through the whole installation process step by step. Let's switch to the VirtualBox. Here we have a new virtual machine with no drivers yet installed. To install the drivers in a virtual machine, choose the menu Devices, Install Guest Editions, or use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+D. Host in VirtualBox is the key responsible for the control over the mouse and the keyboard. Now the CD image containing the drivers file is mounted in the virtual drive. You open the CD in the file browser. This allows you to view the contents of the disk, which was mounted in the media directory. All removable media are mounted in this directory. Here we can see all of the available drivers. We're interested in the selected file,